Emergency responders continue their struggle with accessing most parts of the city of Chicago, after the recent terrorist attacks left the city in ruins. There are people who still remain trapped inside their underground shelters, unsure if anyone will come to rescue them. The attacks upon the city were coordinated by a terrorist group under the name of the Firestorm Faction, starting with simple house fires, before performing large-scale attacks, which include flying fighter jets into airports, and detonating explosives inside the Willis Tower. As of now, the tower has collapsed under the intense heat of a massive explosion that took place after a cryptic message was broadcasted over televisions in the city. It was reported that an individual was last seen chasing after the Firestorm Faction before the explosion took place. This individual was reported by eyewitnesses to be cloaked in an aura of mist, which left behind a trail of frost. Unfortunately, the trail has now gone cold, and the location of the individual remains unknown. The Federal Emergency Management Agency advises all civilians to be on the lookout for a 20 to 22-year-old white female, standing at around 5 feet tall, with blue hair and blue eyes. This individual is also capable of flying at a high rate of speed. If you have any information, please call the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. In other news, temperatures continue to steadily drop from within parts of Indiana as a slow-moving cold front.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. An unusual event is occurring across the skies of Indianapolis. At around 1 p.m., numerous flying vehicles have been spotted descending into the city of Indianapolis. These vehicles are the same ones reported leaving Chicago, Illinois 10 hours ago. It is unknown if these vehicles pose any significant threat to the city at this time, but the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department advises all civilians to remain away from all flying vehicles. If a vehicle appears to be approaching your location, do not attempt to interact with it. Leave the area in a calm and non-threatening manner. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. As of 1:39 p.m., the flying vehicles spotted across the skies of Indianapolis have come to a halt. The vehicles are now scattered throughout most of the city. A larger vehicle has deployed a large beacon-like structure into the monument circle, crushing the soldiers and sailors monument. The contents of the structure are unknown at this time. As a precaution, all civilians are ordered to remain away from the monument circle until further notice. Refrain from interacting with any flying vehicles you may spot.
We are currently covering news on the ongoing crisis happening in the city of Indianapolis. As you may have heard, numerous flying vehicles have been spotted across the skies of Indianapolis. Just recently at around 1:39 p.m., a larger vehicle has dropped a massive beacon-like object on top of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. The monument has been completely destroyed by the object, and several buildings surrounding the monument circle have sustained major damage. The impact has caused the deaths of 4 people, while others were left with critical injuries. These vehicles, now being classified as drop ships, have positioned themselves across several locations in Indianapolis. We have also heard that we are not the only ones affected by this crisis. Drop ships have been reported in the following Indiana counties: Clay, Jackson, White, and Whitley. Larger drop ships have also deployed beacon-like objects into specific locations. The ships in Indianapolis have descended closer to the ground and appear to be preparing to release more objects into the city. More on this as it becomes available.
The civil authorities have issued a civil danger warning for Marion, Indiana, beginning at 1:45 p.m. and ending at 7:45 p.m. WIBC. The following message is transmitted at the request of Marion County Emergency Management. The reported dropships spotted above the skies of Indianapolis have begun to deploy armed units into the city. These units are now firing upon innocent civilians caught outside on the street. Hostile units have also been spotted in the following counties: Clay and Jackson. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department has been dispatched into the affected areas and orders all civilians residing in Indianapolis to head indoors immediately. Remain away from all dropships at all times.
This is WIBC. A civil danger warning remains in effect for Marion County, beginning at 1:45 p.m. and ending at 7:45 p.m. The reported drop ships have now begun to deploy armed units into the streets of Indianapolis. The drop ships appear to be deploying these units at a significant rate, with at least 50 being deployed every minute. The streets of Indianapolis have been overrun, and the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department is unable to access certain locations where civilians are at a great risk of being targeted by these drop ships. Casualty rates continue to rise as more units begin to enter the city. The decreasing temperatures appear to be slowing down the units, allowing for some police intervention. Several sources have speculated that these attacks are possibly being conducted by the same terrorist organization that destroyed Chicago, Illinois yesterday evening, commonly referred to as the While we cannot confirm that these attacks are being conducted by the said faction, we advise that
the civil authorities have issued a civil danger warning for Marion, Indiana, beginning at 1:45 p.m. and ending at 7:45 p.m. WIBC. The following is an update transmitted at the request of Marion County Emergency Management. The dropships have now released multiple drones into the city of Indianapolis and surrounding areas. These drones are firing incendiary weapons at Indianapolis police officers scattered throughout the Monument Circle. The weapons have caused massive explosions around the Monument Circle area, causing the deaths of 50 people as a result. Because of this, civilians receiving this message are ordered to move to a sturdy structure with as few windows as possible. Cover all openings and remain hidden at all times. If you can hear a drone near your location, do not attempt to look at it, as you will more than likely face certain death.
Alert! Cargo doors on lower right now running. Emergency department. Warning. Replacement is a warning. Dropship propulsion systems automatic. Systems failure. Systems failure. Systems failure.
The civil authorities have issued a local area emergency for Marion, Indiana, beginning at 4:20 p.m. and ending at 10:20 p.m. WIBC. The following message is transmitted at the request of Marion County Emergency Management. At approximately 4:18 p.m., the Indiana State Police has received multiple reports of dropships crashing into the state of Indiana. Dropships have crashed into the following counties: Marion, Clay, and Whitley. The Firestorm Faction does not appear to be purposefully destroying these dropships, and it has been determined that another perpetrator is causing these ships to crash. Because of this, all civilians living in the mentioned counties are instructed to head to an underground shelter now. Bring all necessary supplies to your shelter, and tune your battery-powered radio to this station for further updates.
You are listening to WIBC. We are now back on the air after the recent drone attacks upon Indianapolis. This station will continue to cover news updates on the ongoing invasion of Indianapolis. As of 4:20 p.m., we have received multiple confirmed reports of dropships crashing into the state of Indiana. Several eyewitnesses have stated that the ships would cease to release units from the docking bays of the carriers, causing the destruction of some units attempting to escape. The jets of the ships would then cease functioning, and the affected dropships would descend into Indianapolis at an accelerated rate of speed. It appears that the decreasing temperatures spreading throughout the state of Indiana are causing some dropships to freeze up while in flight. Wind speeds have unexpectedly increased up to 27 miles per hour, and temperatures have dropped to 20 degrees within the past hour. Though this temperature change is causing some drones to freeze up near the surface, it is speculated that temperatures are significantly lower in the skies where dropships are present. Thick clouds have formed above the skies of Indiana from this temperature change, and descending dropships have been seen with ice-covered exteriors, and ice crystals forming on the surfaces of these carriers. If you are receiving this broadcast, you are now encouraged to head to an underground shelter and tune to this station for further updates.
The civil authorities have issued a civil danger warning for Clay, Indiana, Jackson, Indiana, Marion, Indiana, White, Indiana, and Whitley, Indiana, beginning at 5 p.m. and ending at 1 o'clock a.m. WIBC. The following is an update transmitted at the request of the Indiana State Police. At 4:47 p.m., a suspect has been spotted attacking a fleet of dropships over much of the affected counties. The attacks have caused clouds to form in the skies above Indiana. These clouds have caused multiple dropships to freeze in flight. This is believed to be the same method which caused some dropships to unexplainably crash out of the sky earlier this evening. As of now, thick clouds are now present above the affected counties, and more drop ships may fall from the sky at any time. Citizens must continue to remain in their underground shelters. No one is allowed on the streets for any reason. Do not leave your shelters. You will be putting your life in extreme danger.
Listening to IBC. A civil danger warning has been issued for the following counties: Clay, Jackson, Marion, White, and Whitley, beginning at 5 p.m. and ending at... If you have not received the previous message, all civilians residing in the mentioned counties should be in an underground shelter. The Indiana State Police has been informed of more drop ships consecutively crashing from the skies of Indiana. Several news stations in the affected counties have also reported unusual temperature changes, which is causing other units to completely freeze up in a matter of moments. Wind speeds have increased to 45 miles per hour in the affected counties. Deployed units have begun to freeze at a significantly faster rate, while previously frozen units are now being toppled over by the increasing wind speeds. Additionally, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department has reported the partial freezing of infrastructures in the city of Indianapolis. However, the area around the Monument Circle has not shown signs of freezing within the past 30 minutes. The beacon-like object appears to be protecting the surrounding area from the decreasing temperatures and cold winds. The remaining Firestorm Faction units are now stationed in this area and appear to be guarding the beacon from Indianapolis police. We have just been informed that the beacon deployed in Jackson has been destroyed by drop ships crashing into the object. The explosions resulted in the release of a cold wind gust, which caused all structures caught in the blast radius to freeze on contact. At last report, the suspect has been spotted leaving the impact zone in Jackson County, and is now headed towards Clay County. The individual not been informed of the identity of the suspects.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Indiana State Police and Marion County Emergency Management. The suspect has crashed the large drop ship into the Victory Field. The explosion has released a cold gust of wind into Indianapolis, freezing all structures within a 3-block radius of the stadium. The suspect is now approaching the area of the Monument Circle, freezing off several drones in the process. In addition, the Indiana State Police has determined that the suspect is the same individual who fled Chicago. Firestorm Faction. The suspect has been identified as...
The impact upon the Victory Field has left the whole stadium in ruins. The remains of the crashed dropship are nowhere to be found after the explosion. The crater left behind at the center of the field has been surrounded by large ice crystals, reaching heights of up to 10 feet tall. The surrounding areas around the Victory Field have been covered in a thick layer of ice, with some buildings and vehicles having broken windows from the release of the wind gust. All structures within a 3-block radius have been overcome with the cold wind. The affected areas have completely lost power. Pipes have been frozen, and some cars have unexpectedly shut off from the freezing wind. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department has reported that their own personnel have been found completely frozen after the impact. While these police officials were nowhere near the Victory Field at the time of the report, It has been determined that the suspect, now identified as 22-year-old Yuki Nam, was responsible for these attacks, since she has been spotted freezing off all hostiles approaching her location.
The civil authorities have issued a law enforcement warning for Marion, Indiana, beginning at 6:50 p.m. and ending at 2:50 a.m. WIBC. The following is an update transmitted at the request of the Indiana State Police and Marion County Emergency Management. A standoff between Yukina and the Firestorm Faction is taking place at the Monument Circle. The remaining dropships in the city of Indianapolis have now surrounded a 7-mile radius of the beacon. The Firestorm Faction has threatened to activate the beacon if Yukina refuses to leave the area. The Indiana State Police The following is an update transmitted at the request of the Indiana State Police and Marion County Emergency Management. The Firestorm Faction has activated the beacon located at the Monument Circle. The beacon has fired a single beam of light into the sky, releasing a strong burst of energy into the city of Indianapolis. Buildings within a 2-mile radius of the beacon have been set on fire as a result. The dropships have opened fire upon Yukina, who was attempting to destroy the beacon before the blast.
You are listening to WIBC. Civil danger warning is in effect for and ending at 2:50 a.m. This station has been affected by the beacon's effects of this broadcast may cease at any time. At this time, a standoff continues between Yukina and the Firestorm Faction. Dropships continue to crash into Indianapolis as Yukina. The faction appears to be attempting to hold Yukina back from destroying the beacon. The surface of the structure has been frozen solid. Beam of energy getting stronger. However, the beacon appears to be sparking, and the generator has been observed to be exploding violently from the ice that An immediate evacuation has been issued for the city of Indianapolis. The following message is transmitted at the request of Marion County Emergency Management. The beacon located at the Monument Circle is now at risk of exploding. It has been determined that the Firestorm Faction has intentionally overworked the beacon, as they have been spotted leaving the city moments before the reported malfunction. Yukina's potent vortex has made it difficult for the faction to leave the city. Due to the imminent risk of the core's eruption, all residents living in Indianapolis are being ordered to evacuate. There is no time to gather essential supplies. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, in conjunction with the Indiana State Police and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, will be aiding in the evacuation of Indianapolis. Emergency services are currently unavailable at this time. This message is read.
Any signs of the target?
I have a signal. My God. She's...
Recovery. Status report.
Target's been located. Send over a dropship to my location. Containment begins.